Hey, it's Camo for Nashville Access, Facebook Live, the MV2 Sessions. We're here in one of the writing rooms at MV2 Entertainment on Music Row, and the audience is with the flash pictures.
Oh, the paparazzi.
Yeah, damn paparazzi. Look, it's Kalie Shorr.
Look, it's Kalie Shorr,
Yeah.
right.
We're saying we have to be like Regis and somebody.
I know. I was saying we're Regis and Kelly, but he was insulted because Regis is a little bit older than him. Actually, a lot bit, I think.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right. You're good now.
I'm good.
Yeah. Tell us about what you've got going on, because you were just saying you're working on a new project now.
Yes.
Here's the CD cover.
Yeah, I know that. I forgot to bring. It is coming out next month in January. I'm super excited about it. I actually wrote some of the songs for it in this room, which is
cool.
Crazy. Yeah. But over here at MV2, which is really cool to kind of do an interview in a writing room. I feel like you don't see that a lot. But it's a brand new project and kind of a new sound for me. I grew up playing in a lot of rock bands and also loving country music. And for a long time, I think I was scared to kind of bring those two things together. And with the help of some of my favorite writers like Skip Black and Eric Dodd and Riley Thomas, we kind of figured out a way to fuse those sounds and make something that was completely me but still country. And there's a lot of big guitars on it, and it just feels like something that 10-year-old me would have bought at FYE. So
because you do have an edgier sound to you, and it's not the drum loop pop country. Right. It's definitely got that more kind of rock driven edge to it. And that's a cool thing.
Thank you. I'm super excited about it. It just feels, and I've experimented with a lot of different types of sounds. I mean, there's so much genre bending going on in country music right now. It's hard to kind of pick a lane within the larger lane. Pick a lane on the highway. Let's go with that. Like 6-lane highway. You got pop, you got rap, you got the R&B, you got the rock thing, and I just kind of feel like I found a way to just make something that was so me, but really authentic to those roots. And it does have a little bit of an edgier sound, which I'm excited about.
That's a hard thing for an artist, is trying to figure out where to fit in, because if you look at the big names, they all kind of created their own lane. Even with that poppier side, you had Florida Georgia Line, and then Sam Hunt comes up behind them and says, "Oh yeah, you think you're pop?" Yeah, and pulls out and passes them and goes completely that way.
Yeah.
So find something that's new and unique, and then you'll get signed by a label, and they'll make you sound like everyone else. But yeah, that's got to be a lot of pressure when you're trying to carve your own reputation, and it's like, where do I fit in?
No, it is, and I think that I really went through that struggle, especially just over the past 2 years since Fight Like a Girl came out, because there's a lot of pressure from other people telling you to sound like whatever this hot thing is at the moment, and I've even heard people at labels I'll see on like pitch sheets or whatever, and it'll be like, need something that sounds like Kelsey Ballerini. I'm like, well, Kelsey Ballerini sounds like Kelsey Ballerini. What are you doing? And it's just like, I think finding your own lane is so important, especially if you want to make an impact and make things that last. I mean, Taylor Swift found her own lane, and every girl my age who moved here, whether they want to say they're a fan of her or not, they were influenced by her because she was a girl with a guitar.
She was. I always call her the gateway drug to country music, because there were so many little kids that, if you'd said, do you like country music? No, but I like Taylor Swift. And as they got older, they kind of got deeper into the genre.
Yeah. I feel like Garth and Shania did that too.
Yeah.
And I hope to do something like that, because I think that, country brings so much to the table. And I remember being in my 8th grade rock band. It was awful. We were so bad.
I'll tell you what, every 8th grade rock band.
Yes, I know. That's so very, very true. There's...
Sorry.
Sorry, guys. But I remember, wanting to do country songs so badly, and we were out there, covering, we did, a really bad duet of Mother by Pink Floyd.
Wow.
It was so bad. So picture a 13-year-old girl with Floyd duetting on Mother. It was just so bad. And then we did
a progressive rock band.
Yes.
That a lot of people go, oh, I hate that
and
stuff.
It was ridiculous. And but so none of them liked country music. And I remember trying to make such a strong case for country, and I love arguing. I'm from New England, and I think that's why. But so whenever I'm going into an argument, I'm very prepared, and I pretty much PowerPoint everything out. So I remember
I'll make a note of that.
making a dissertation on why we should cover Jolene, and I was like, look, the White Stripes did it, and now Jack White is working with Loretta Lynn, and blah 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 blah, and we can cover Johnny Cash because Johnny Cash covered Nine Inch Nails, and Nine Inch Nails said that they liked Johnny Cash's version better than their own.
Hey, Cody Jinks, who's one of the most traditional guys coming out of Texas now, covered Pink Floyd's "Wish You Were Here."
Oh, yeah, that's such a great song.
It's such a killer song. But
great music is great music, right?
I was just going to say, the great songs you can almost put into any genre just by the production and the instrumentation, and it works because they're great songs.
Yeah, and I think that's so true. And I mean, you can hear. I love guitar-based songs, and I think that great songs typically have that, where you can just play them on an acoustic guitar and they stand alone as a great song. And that's, why Hurt was so amazing when Johnny Cash did it, and I think the White Stripes cover of Jolene was just a guitar too. But yeah, so I think I remember them being like, okay, well maybe country music's cool because Jack White said it was. I'm like, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe Dolly Parton's a rock star too, guys, but whatever.
I'm going up and saying your favorite band is Asleep at the Wheel, and see how cool people think you are then.
But yeah, it was very unpopular when I was growing up, especially in Maine. I feel like there was a big resurgence of country in the 2000s, and everybody loved Faith Hill and Shania. And then there was kind of it tapered off, and then everyone was like, I like everything except for country, and I was like, okay, sure. I'm
number one format in the country. Yeah.
High five. Yes.
We were talking about that on the show. It's country music is the number one format in the country. More people listen to country than anything else, and yet all the Grammy Awards in the multi-genre categories go to pop R&B artists.
I was a little disappointed because there wasn't a country album of the year, right? Yeah, that was a little disappointing.
So it's who's voting on this stuff?
Well, and country's getting so progressive in its own way, both on the pop side and both on the on the Sturgill Simpson and Chris Stapleton kind of side too, and Margaret Price. They're truer rock stars than anyone you hear on the radio,
It's funny, and I'm going to sound like an old geezer saying
You are an old geezer.
I'm sure I sound like an old man, too. When rock music was better in the 90s.
But that's it. It's refreshing hearing somebody at your age saying a great song is a great song, and things like Kelsey Ballerini already is Kelsey Ballerini, so why do you want... Because so many artists come in saying, I want to pattern myself after this person and write these kind of songs, and you get it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think it's so, the biggest thing that inspires me about Kelsey and Taylor is how true they are to themselves. And I can't be true to myself while emulating how true they are to themselves, It doesn't compute. But they're also, the way they treat people. I think that's the biggest thing you should look to in other artists and in successful artists is how they treat their team and their fans, and I think that comes down to it so much too. So
before we get you to do a song, just along that lines, do you feel pressure from places where you perform and the people that surround you to try and be like somebody else? Be a bit more Kelsey, or be a little bit more Martina, or be more this.
I think that for women specifically, and just kind of navigating this sort of difficult country landscape where we're on average 6 to 8% of the Billboard charts.
Yeah, which is completely bogus.
Yeah.
Whether you believe women are better or worse, it's just great. You're making great music, and why is it all the guys?
Oh yeah, totally. And and there's so many guys making great, incredible progressive music, and I never want to take away from that. But there's a huge disparity, and just if you're looking at the numbers, where it's 50% of the population, 50% of the population, 90% of radio, 10% of radio on a really good week, you're there's something weird there. But I think that back to the question that you asked was, I think that. It's so interesting because you'll hear murmurs around town where it's like, you know, I remember immediately after Kelsey had her first #1, and now that, you know, Carly's having a lot of success, and they're so amazing. But you hear from like labels, it's like a competing label that neither one of them is on. They'll be like, well, we're looking for the next Kelsey Ballerini, or we're looking for the next Carly Beers.
They've always done that. I mean,
and I'm like, y'all, like, let those girls carved out their own lane, and they worked so hard at it. And who am I to take away from that?
But that's kind of what labels do.
Yeah.
You know, when Alan Jackson and George Strait broke out, everybody needed a hat act. And so everybody was looking to find somebody with a Stetson, and they even put one on Blake Shelton. You know, the hat and the mullet. Don't be slamming the mullet. I always got to get my points in for the mullet. But they've always done that, and then, you know, it went from the Stetsons to baseball caps, and then it went from baseball caps to baseball caps turned around.
Yep.
So that's what labels do. They see somebody that's got a success with one thing, and then everybody wants to have that. But
then on the same
when you're
hand,
looking at such a small handful of people that are women that are topping the charts, and it's like, you know, it's like inbreeding puppies.
Totally.
You know.
Yeah, that's a very true but very bizarre.
Yeah, it's
metaphor,
like,
but yes.
You've got 3 women that are kind of in the top of the charts these days.
On a good day.
And you're trying to make everything sound like those 3 with guys. Take your pick and sound like them.
Well, you'll say, like, you know, you'll hear the labels say, like, oh, we want this act and we want to copy this success. But then you go in their office, and if you play them a song that sounds like it, they'll write you off and they'll be like, oh, you sound like just like Taylor Swift. I'm like, no. I'm like, I have a guitar and hair. Yeah. You know, like, oh my God. And it's just so funny. And, like, you know, I had someone tell me that Fight Like a Girl sounded like a Taylor Swift song. And I was like, no, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't at all. Like, I have, you know, 4 to 5 years worth of rip-offs of Taylor Swift songs like any other 23-year-old songwriter. Thankfully, I outgrew that phase because they were bad. But that one doesn't sound like a Taylor Swift.
I'll give you, you know, it doesn't get any better as you get older. People are always saying, you look like this or you sound like that. And it's always going to be a part of your life. And sometimes you have to just smile and say, yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
You know?
Thanks. That's a huge compliment. I loved it.
Yeah. And then go home and go,
yeah.
You want to do a song for us?
I would love to.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, you have a guitar.
Oh, look what I just found over here. So are y'all tuned in?
And, you've got to love the leopard skin. The pink leopard skin.
Pink leopard strap.
Cool.
Well, since we're at MV2, I'm going to play you guys a song that I wrote in here, because I feel like that's kind of a cool thing. You don't have to do a ton. But I wrote this one with Riley Thomas and Eric Dodd. And I wrote it, it comes on the record after this song called Backseat, which is kind of about just not feeling like you're in control of your own life, specifically as a teenager, but I think a lot of people feel like that. Going through heartbreak, you know, especially when it wasn't your choice, you're like, well, I didn't ask for any of this, you know? And that song kind of doesn't really resolve, and so on the project, like, I really wanted to have this song come after it, because I feel like it's the happy ending, where it's like you find yourself and you realize that the things that you were looking to that person to do for you, you can do them on your own. It's called Damn Sky.
Cool. Kalie Shorr.
It was always your name first and my name after it. All tied up, but it unraveled when you found some other somebody. In pieces on that cold kitchen floor, fixing things I didn't ask for. Just me, myself, and nobody. Well, I've never seen a dark like that on
song.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Did you set out to be kind of put down that footprint and say, I want to be this strong woman in country music, or has it just happened through seeing the women that are in country music and say, yeah, I want to be breaking through like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. You know, all the women that I grew up on and, you know, watching country music, I think that the year 2000 was kind of the first year that I was, like, really aware of, you know, I mean, I was very young, but, like, even aware of, like, genres and, like, you know, just, like, kind of the artist I wanted to be like. It was the year I wrote my first song. And I remember singing the Dixie Chicks and Shania and Reba and Faith Hill, and I just loved all of them, and I had their records in this big binder full of CDs, which now is, you know, all on my phone, which is crazy. And now, see, now I sound like an old man. But I remember,
We have some good points.
Yeah, we do. You know, the strength came so naturally to them, and it was in such a, like, it wasn't in a shove it down your throat way. It was just in a, like, this is who I am. And, you know, I think Shania was such a great influence. And, I mean, she was doing a very progressive rock thing, too, with Mutt producing everything.
Yeah.
And those were rock tracks.
Yeah, and all he was doing was exactly the same formula as he did with Def Leppard and AC/DC, doubling all the guitars and the vocals and everything, and he just did that with Shania.
Totally.
And it's like she's just doing.
And I just love that big sound, and but all of her lyrics, which, you know, I think that she really was a great writer. I mean, she wrote, like, most of this new album by herself, which is, you know, kind of crazy, because I feel like a lot of times people, even when they see someone's name on the song, as an artist, they're like, well, how much did they really write? But I, like, really think she was very hands-on about all that. And the lyrics were just so undeniably, like, this is who I am, like, honey, I'm home, you know, any man of mine, and just, like, empowered and, you know, both, you know, and never shying away from being a woman, because I think a lot of people think that, and I don't blame them, but in order to be a feminist, you kind of have to attempt some sort of masculinity, but that's not true at all. Like, I love being a woman, and I love getting up and doing my makeup, but I also, like, love, you know, telling it like it is, and then being true to myself and not taking any, you know, trying to think of another word for the word I was going to say, and I couldn't, but you guys get it. Okay, crap. That's good. Can you tell I don't really substitute it very often? So I think that just watching them and watching, you know, my friends who are succeeding, it's like, just, there really isn't another option. Also, you know, I was raised by a single mother who, you know, fought so hard to give me a good life and you know, make me have, you know, hobbies and passions and stuff I cared about, and I just never really saw another option to, like, not be a strong woman and have that translate in my music.
Cool. Yeah, then, I mean, you talk about people like Shania and Reba, but, I mean, the 90s had so many women.
So many. And Sarah Evans and Martina.
Martina, Reba, Trisha, Pam Tillis, Rory Morgan, and these voices were all over the place. And back, as far as the 80s, when I was on the radio and like working a regular shift, it was like, never play two women back to back. Why? Well, because people can't tell the difference in their voices. Like, really? You can't tell Reba from Trisha or Reba from anybody else? Like,
I mean,
who comes up with these idiotic things? And
then
now
like,
they're saying, don't play women because they're, you know, they're kind of the tomatoes in this. And it's like, seriously, when most of the genre's listeners are female, don't you want to be playing music that the listener can say, yeah, me too? I
mean, and I like, you know, it's just all about music that you relate to. I mean, and I relate to male songs, and I feel like a lot of times with a male song, it's like, I listen to it and I'm like, oh, I want a guy to say that about me. But, like, when I want to feel understood, I'm going to put on, like, you know, Walk Away Joe or something like, you know? Like, so it just doesn't make any sense. It just, it's like, does not compute. And I sit here and I talk about it and I think about it all the time and I'm just like, I don't get it.
You need to be a label head.
Yeah, I know, right? I'd probably make a lot more money, so I wouldn't have holes in my jeans.
And you can play guitar, which so many people
Thank you.
in charge of things can't.
I think because I play with this group in Nashville called Song Suffragettes, and I don't know if you've ever been to a show.
I haven't been to a show,
You'll
but I keep hearing about them and hearing great things, and so I've interviewed a few people that have been part of it, so it's a cool
something
thing.
I'm really proud to be of. But I think that I started playing with the very first show and kind of helping host the show, and just was like very close to it from its like infancy, if you will, and just having to like do the cover every week and seeing all these other girls who were like so much better than me and like still are. I mean, they were like, Carly Pearce and Kelsey Ballerini played our second and third shows back to back.
And
I keep coming back to them, but I just love them so much. Yeah, exactly. And so seeing all these girls who were just like so much out of my league, I was like, wow, I need to get better. And it just made me like, and it never made me like jealous. I just think I was so quick to be like, wow, I just need to like, that's inspiring, because like if they can do it, so can I. But it just made me such a better performer and such a better woman, and I totally credit that for, sitting down and working on my guitar when it is so easy to just let your guitar player do it, because like it is easy, I'm like, wow, I can like dance around on stage, but I'm like, no, play your own damn guitar. Like,
I know, we were watching The Voice the other night, and Blake was doing a song and had dancers, and it's like, no, don't, Blake with dancers.
God bless him.
No.
Well, in his defense, Gwen was singing too.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's okay.
You mentioned Margot Price.
Yeah.
And I think out of that whole batch that you mentioned, she's, to me, the coolest.
She's just a rock star.
Yeah, she's cool.
And I love her story, because it's not perfect, and I always feel like I'm drawn to an artist who has like a story. I mean, I was watching the Tim and Faith documentary, and like Tim and Faith are like, just, I like them more than I should. They're just like, they just influence me so much.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Like, I don't want to tell you how many Soul to Soul t-shirts I've bought from eBay from the 90s that I've like, cut up and made. I have like at least 4. It's but I love them so much, and I was watching their documentary with a couple of my friends, and they both have such intriguing stories, and like, I don't think that you can make good art without, kind of bad life experience, because that's what makes you know how to empathize and relate to people. And if you do, like, no one's life is perfect, so everybody has that to draw from. But if you try to kind of gloss it over and seem like your life is all sunshine and roses all the time, like, no one gets that. Wendy listening on the radio in West Virginia does not get that. She's going through a divorce, man.
But don't you think there's a real market for somebody who can't find the keys to their Mercedes so they can go and get a frappe mochaccino and stuff?
Right.
That's the kind of song you need to write as a joke, like this really sarcastic take on, I can't find the keys.
We'll call it first world problem. Yeah. No, but I think, Tim, like, just not knowing who his father was, and then having all that happen. And Faith Hill worked at McDonald's, and I will tell you, I worked at a hot dog stand, and that was my first job when I moved to Nashville. I worked from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. I lied and told my mom I was working somewhere else, because she would have just literally lost her mind and come down here and drag me back home. And it was an awful job. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't, but I remember like every day I'd be like, Faith, I worked at McDonald's, you can do this.
But that's the thing about country music, is there's always those stories. I mean, Tammy was a beautician.
Yeah.
And Billy Hayes was a hairstylist.
Yeah.
And he's written killer, or not Billy Hayes. I've lost my mind now. But there have been so many people that have had those stories and come up, and that's.
But Margot Price is one of them. I mean, like, her stories, and what's that? Am I getting the song right? Hands of Time. Yeah, that song is incredible, and I just think it's so refreshing to hear someone like owning their story and not trying to make it any prettier than it is, because I think that like hearing something visceral like that, that's what's going to spark other people to be like, wow, I'm not alone. And I feel like this past year is the first year I really started writing songs about, what I've been through and what I've seen. And
I think it partially comes with getting a little bit older.
Yes.
You have more experience to draw from, and you're not looking at it with these wide-eyed kid's eyes,
Yeah, totally. I think the further away you kind of get from a situation, the easier it is to see, like, the forest for the trees,
distance,
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gives you perspective.
Yes.
You want to do another song?
I would love to.
Sweet.
Yeah. I'm going to play you guys, let's see, I'm going to do the single. It's called Two Hands. And this premiered on the highway 2 weeks ago on SiriusXM, which is really awesome. They've been super supportive and just, Fight Like a Girl, my first single, they literally just heard at the listening room and just scooped up and put it on the radio.
Nice.
And like, that's the only easy thing that's ever happened in my life. But I was so damn thankful that was the one that God chose to happen easily. But this song, I wrote it about finding a good man who knows how to date a songwriter, because I am so emotional and talk about my emotions in situations just like this. Yeah, it's just about finding someone who doesn't ever think you're too much. It's called Two Hands.
Well, I can drink any man under the table. You say I should have a warning label, but you like it. Yeah, you like it. When I lose my keys, I lose my mind, and you just laugh and roll your eyes, but you like it. Yeah, you like it. I'm not perfect, you don't care. I ain't sorry, you ain't scared, 'cause you got two hands that know how to hold me, let me like only you can. And maybe I'm crazy, but maybe you'll take me as I am. You know I don't try to, but I can be hard to handle. I might be a handful, but that's why you got two hands. That's why you got two hands up. Will you hold the door, but don't hold me down, 'cause you know you got nothing to worry about, and I like it. Yeah, I like it. Well, you're tall, dark, and confident. Who cares if we're opposites? 'Cause I like it. Already I like it. 'Cause you got two hands that know how to hold me, love me like only you can. And maybe I'm crazy, but baby you'll take me as I am. You know I don't try to, but I can be hard to handle. I might be a handful, but that's why you got two hands. That's why you got two hands up. I'm not perfect, you don't care. I ain't sorry, you ain't scared. 'Cause you got two hands that know how to hold me, love me like only you can. And maybe I'm crazy, but baby you'll take me as I am. You know I don't try to, but I can be hard to handle. I might be a handful, but that's why you got two hands. Yeah, that's why you got two hands up. That's why you got two hands up. Yeah. 'Cause that's why you got two hands up.
Cool.
Nice.
So the guy spin on that would be, you've got two hands so you can make obscene gestures to Nashville drivers.
Oh my gosh, that's true.
How can people get in touch with you?
You can find me on KalieShorr.com, and all of my social media is Kalie Shorr, Kalieshorr. So exactly the opposite of how you thought it was spelled. And pronounced, honestly.
Thank you for coming by
Thank
today.
you
It was
so
a real
much.
pleasure
This is
having
so
you here.
fun.
Come by again.
Oh, I will. Thank you.
Sweet. Kalie Shorr. Check her out.